There's a like, but no viewers yet. Strange. Hopefully I got my Wi-Fi problems figured out. But first we need life. Let's put a note here in the community tab. I don't know. There's a few people out there I see. Hey, there's somebody, Wayne Slager. I'm posting a note in the community tab on the channel so people see what's going on. Because this one is more of an unannounced impromptu kind of thing, as most of my live streams tend to be these days, I guess. But yeah. So hopefully my I still don't know what in the hell is going on with my Wi-Fi here in the house, because I'm still I even called AT&T and they sent me out 3 Wi-Fi extenders, and I've got one here in this room, and it's still telling me that it's the signal's lower than the 2689.69 kbps is lower than the recommended bit rate. We recommend you use a stream bit rate of 6800. So who knows? I guess we'll see. Better than it was last week, because last week it was around about half of that. Anyway, I digress. So, what's everybody got going on this weekend? Anything at all? Anybody going gear shopping? There's a few people there. There's Wayne Slager, King Taco, Wally in the Box, and that's all who have made their way into the chat so far. So this is a. I mean, if there's not a lot of interest going on here today, then this may be a short live stream. Me and my buddy were gonna hang out and check out his mix of his song. Cool. Sounds like fun. I should learn more about mixing. I'm not a studio guy, but I don't think all my mixes sound the same. But they're certainly not high end, top notch or anything. Nobody's hiring me to record and mix their album for them. So, not that that's that I've endeavored to do so, but. We're having Easter tomorrow. When is Easter? Is that next weekend? Shit, I don't even remember. As far as gear goes, I want to get some studio recording stuff like interface, monitors, and mic and a mixer. Always fun stuff to get. I just sold an interface here this past weekend. Hey, Tony Peppers is here. What's up, dude? Says, I'm about to finish up work. Just saw a notification pop up. Thought I'd drop in and say hi. So, hi. So, everybody, say hello to Tony. Tony is the mastermind behind, the Dirty Tree. The Dirty Tree boost pedal is definitely his most significant contribution to the gear world thus far. That's been his most popular one. Which is a great pedal, but I'm still partial to the Satanist distortion, I guess, that he now calls the Wendigo. Badass distortion pedal. All Tony stuff is badass. Seriously, man. Seriously, Tony, I love your stuff. Nearly 3,000 sold so far. Just Dirty Trees, you mean? Is that just Dirty Trees? I think I saw on Bookface the other day. That's what you were saying. Over 3,000 Dirty Trees sold so far. I guess now there's people that are just ordering them, and just to I think Fluff said he was ordering them and giving them away to his friends. So, wow. Sweet. King Taco says you did say it was a distortion pedal. The Dirty Tree. Here, let me grab them because I've had both of them. The Dirty Tree is this guy, and you might see it out there in the wild. And oops, that's a little too close. You might see it out there in the wild, and he's done it in some different colors and stuff like that. But that's what the Dirty Tree is, and it's a boost pedal. And then the Satanist Distortion is this guy. And like I said, this one I believe is now called, Tony now calls the Wendigo Distortion. And I think I've been told it's the same thing. You just changed the name. I've also been told that you did make a minor tweak to the inside of it somehow. So I don't know. Maybe Tony can enlighten us. But regardless, that's one of the best distortion pedals I've ever heard ever, especially for metal distortion. So yeah. I think my glucose sensor just died. Yep, sensor ended. So yeah, 3,000 Dirty Trees sold. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you built every single one of them by hand yourself, which is even more awesome. Let's see. You should do a little demo on the stream. I would, but the problem is I've not been able to figure out how the hell to stream audio. Otherwise, I would. And yeah, if I could figure that out, if I could figure that out, then yeah, I would be happy to do so. But I haven't, and I haven't put a lot of effort into it lately either. But I have not been able to figure out how to stream audio synced with the video. So I'll see if I can figure that out. That might be fun one day. Let's see. But if you want to see demos of those pedals, I have demoed both of them on my channel here in the past. Just search for them, you'll find them. Let's see. Correct. Tony Pepper says correct. The Wendigo, only thing different is it has a built-in 18-volt booster. So the Wendigo is the Satanist, but now has an 18-volt booster in it. Other than that, same pedal. That's what it sounds like. Says when I do my live streams, I use OBS. Yeah, and I'm using Streamlabs OBS for my live streams. But again, there's so many configurations and parameters and and all this shit. Hell, I haven't figured out. I can get a microphone added in there, but now that I think about it, though, with a Windows machine, maybe it's just as easy as adding a different input from the interface. Okay, well, I'll try that. Maybe that's all it is. In which case, then that should be pretty easy. Should be. Who knows? We'll see. It sure would make life easier. At any rate, Tony, congratulations, man. 3,000 Dirty Trees sold on top of all the other pedals that you sold. That's the Green Peppers and the Satanists and the Wendigos and all the other crazy stuff that you got going. So, and the Green Peppers, the Green Peppers, I think that's the Mad Amp, amp in a box pedal. So if you guys like the Mad Amp sound, yeah, you should go check out that pedal. That one's pretty cool too. Wally in the Box says, "What's your YouTube channel, Tony?" Tony, if you have a YouTube channel, I didn't realize you were active on that active on YouTube, other than sending stuff to people like me. But Tony, if you have a link to your YouTube channel, if drop a link to your YouTube channel there in the box. So it's just my name, but I don't put much stuff up on it. However, Tony, you should also drop your Big Cartel shop link there in the chat for everybody. So I do not know anything about music. My only knowledge is seeing stuff on YouTube. Could you try putting your mic and set your stream audio through a mixer that's also connected to a mic with your amp? Well, I mean, I've got my microphone plugged into my interface, and my interface is running straight to, is running into OBS software, which is then connected to YouTube. Theoretically, you could be able to do that and have it solid sound. Like you would either want to put your cab in a different room or just reconnect it through XLR. Yeah, I'm gonna have to mess with it. I'm gonna have to mess with it and figure it out. So, but it's regardless, it's not gonna happen today. So, but I will see if I can figure that out here for future stuff. Freddie Bub, who the hell is Bub? Have you seen these current TT channel videos saying used guitars are not selling? I don't know what current TT channel videos are, but I will concur that the used market is the used guitar market is a tough place right now. Because you got prices that are all way over inflated on used gear, and a lot of them aren't much cheaper than what you can buy a new one for. So, I mean, hopefully they start coming back down to something more reasonable now that the supply chains have opened back up. After all the COVID stuff, but yeah, I do agree that the used guitar market is a tough place right now. So unless it's something, unless it's something that's like really high end and really desirable. I've had stuff listed, or it's either something really high end or really desirable, or it's listed abnormally cheap. Like less than significantly less than it's worth. I mean, I've had guitars and stuff sitting for months, and that's been a problem for a couple of years now. Finally, I had a bunch of stuff, just inexpensive stuff. I finally got tired of looking at it just because I needed the space. I threw it all in the car and took it down to some of it is sold to Music Go Round, some of it is sold to Guitar Center, and some of it one guitar anyway I sold to a local vintage shop here in the Indianapolis suburb that I live in. And that was just because I was sick of looking at it, and at that point I was so sick of looking at it, and I was so sick of renewing the listings on Facebook Marketplace and all the other stuff, all the other places they're listed. It just made more sense to dump it and take the hit. So, yes, the used guitar market is pretty tough right now. Guitar apocalypse. So, I haven't seen any of the channels that you're talking about. I don't know, who else may have been talking about it lately, but who knows? Do you think it could be mostly because people are too focused on making a profit? I understand not trying to chip yourself without losing a bunch of money, but it's just a thought. In some instances, I'm sure that's what it is. In some instances, it's probably people that are suddenly discovering, holy shit, I can make a profit on this now because the market prices on this have gotten up so high. So it's just, I mean, it's, probably a combination of those things. But there's a lot of people out there that they simply sell their gear because they're trying to come up with the money to fund something else. And they are fully aware that they're going to they're going to lose money on it. It's probably going to lose money on it anyway when they go to sell it. And that's most people just accept that when they buy it, especially if they've been doing that kind of thing for a long time. But then you got people that are, that try to buy cheap so that you don't lose a whole lot of money when you get rid of it, or possibly even make money. And I'm fortunate I can make money on most of the stuff that I own, but I also don't sell very much of it either. I'm not much of a gear flipper, so. I've sold a few things lately just because, like I said, it's stuff that's collecting dust, and I'm never going to use them. There's just time to go. But at the end of realistically though, at the end of the day, when you compare the musical the MI business and musicians and everything that is in our world, you compare it to just about any other industry out there. I mean, there's not a lot of money, in the music industry or in the MI business. I mean, collectively, there's just not. So, yeah, so people are trying to make every penny that they can. And that's always been the case. I have a Dale Earnhardt Les Paul that I can't seem to sell, so I know that pain. Yeah, I remember those, and they did. I think they did a whole. I don't remember exactly how many of them they did, but I mean they did a 3 or 4 or 5 different of those different NASCAR Les Pauls. They did the Earnhardt, and they did. I think there was a Tony Stewart, and I don't remember who the others were. Probably a Jeff Gordon. I mean, those are the 3 main ones. The 3 most popular. And even when Dale Sr. was alive. But I mean, the thing with those, those are going to be a tough sell anyway, because I mean, unless you find a a diehard NASCAR fan who is really into high end guitars. I mean, that's really who that guitar was built for. And even when they were new, they didn't sell that well because they discovered after the fact it's a pretty narrow market. NASCAR fans will buy anything that's NASCAR affiliated. They'll buy any kind of NASCAR or hats and shirts and baseball bats and flags and collector cars. I mean, they'll buy if it looks like it might be collectible and it's NASCAR related, they'll buy it. But guitars, and I think those, if I remember right, those things sold for like $5,000 or $6,000 when they were new, and that was almost 20 years ago. That's a little bit tougher sell. And finding that guy and that collector is a lot harder. So, you just got to be patient with it and keep waiting. Keep riding it out if you're depending on what your asking price for it is anyway. But it's a hard sell because most people that are into high end Les Pauls that don't care about NASCAR don't want it. So. Wally Box says, I just shared your webpage on my Facebook page, talking about Tony Pepper's webpage. Very nice of you to do so, Wally. Dealer on here is saying big tube amps are not selling now. Another trend. Nah, I'm not buying at all. That's bullshit because I mean, big tube amps are always going to sell. I mean, hell, I got a whole rack full of them here. Not to, plus the ones behind me that you guys can sort of see. among others. I mean, tube amps are always going to be popular. Yes, the lower wattage stuff is getting more popular for some people. The digital stuff, the modelers that are not tube driven at all. That technology has come along so far that those people, so those are selling a lot more. And are they costing the big game companies tube sales? Maybe a little bit, but realistically, I mean, you got people that love those, like people that love 5150s, for example. They're always going to love 5150s, and I don't know that there too many of them are going to trade in their 5150 6505 collection in favor of a Helix. Especially because the Line 6 Helix is going to go obsolete one of these days. Sooner or later, that is going to be an obsolete piece of gear because Line 6 will have come out with a newest, latest, and greatest updated version, as they always do. Tony's out. See you, Tony. Thanks for popping in and hanging with us for a little bit, dude. But that's the thing with the digital technology. It does have a shelf life. I mean, as far as it being current. I mean, there's when the Line 6 Pod came out, and I've always hated the Line 6 Pod, that kidney bean looking thing. I've always hated that thing. But there's when it first came out, there's a ton of people out there that loved it, and it was absolutely everybody thought that people that loved it because it could do all the things that it could do. And produce all the different sounds that it can produce. But, compare some of the similar amp models on that one. Compare a JCM 800 model on that one to the JCM 800 on the Helix, and you tell me which one sounds better. So, I mean, that's digital gear is always going to be, is always going to have a shelf life on it. Tube amps are always, your tube amps are never going to have that problem. So, that's why the old vintage tube amps are worth so much money. Because you can't buy them anymore. So, yeah, I don't buy that. Anything that the big tube amps aren't selling anymore. Bullshit. Some of the big brands have gotten a little too expensive. The high-end, British-made Marshalls. I mean, I think they're, some of those are getting, some of those have gotten a little bit pricier than I think they should have. Same with some of the Mesa Boogies. Like the Mark V's and all that stuff, and triple, dual rectifier, I think it's $3,000 now. Or close to it. The diesels have always been expensive. The Engels have always been expensive. Fryad, VHT, depending on what era, those have always been expensive. I mean, those, they've always been expensive. But people, people buy them. So people buy them, and obviously there's those companies are selling enough of them that because they're still producing those amps, or maybe or they're still producing amplifiers. So let's see. I had a cheap Zoom. It was good. I remember when Zoom first came out back in the 90s. I think I was in college when I first discovered. Maybe it was in high school. Might have been in high school. I don't know, high school, college. The effects processor thing had been around for a while. I think I had a friend or two that had a Boss, something or other that I thought was pretty cool. And then Zoom came out with a smaller one that at the time I remember thinking was pretty cool. I never got around to buying one, and then later on I discovered they weren't for me anyway. But although I am about to demo believe it or not, I am actually about to demo a multi-effects processor here on my channel in the coming weeks. So, but in this instance, I do remember when the Zoom stuff first came out. I remember thinking it was, they were pretty cool. Rich Tom says, my problem with all the digital gear is lack of knobs. For some reason, they want several functions from one knob. I can't use it. Just use pedals and regular amp. Yep. You know, and that might be one reason why I've never gotten along with them real well either, is because, you know, I can't stand all the menu banks and, you know, and all that stuff that you got to cycle through to get, you know, to get to where you need to get. And, you know, as soon as you go from one menu to the next, you know, the functions of all the knobs and switches and controls and stuff, you know, all the control functions change drastically from one menu setting to the next. Ugh. But who knows? Maybe one day they'll make sense to me. Not likely, but maybe one day. Until then, I'm still a pedal board guy. Give me stomp boxes. Speaking of amps, do you see modeling amps that can be controlled by a phone, a fad, or something new to get bigger down the road? Well, I mean, they're getting better. You know, I think Line 6 was the first one to come out with that. You know, when if you guys remember the Amplify series that came out about, I don't know, what we're talking about, 10 years or so ago. You know, and they you know, and they sounded, I remember they sounded okay. But I just, you know, what I discovered with that is I hated I hated reaching for my phone, to change up a setting on the amp. You know, I just want to be able to reach over and the amp had some settings, but you know, they were just basic stuff, you know, basic EQ stuff. You know, I just wanted to be able to reach over the amp and switch channels or do whatever it was I had to do. And the phone, you know, the mobile app made it difficult to do that. That said, Positive Grid has done really, really well with their Spark series amps. Specifically, you know, what was the Spark 40? I think was the first one that came out, and you know, now they've got a mini version of that one that's selling real well. So, you know, I mean, there's, you know, the market for that style of modeling amp is definitely growing. My buddy Alan Barnes over on the Geargasms YouTube channel is real big on those things, and he's done demos on top of demos on top of demos of the Spark amplifiers. So he seems to really enjoy them. So, you know, they do quite a bit, and he's gotten to learn his way around them pretty well. As for me, you know, like I said, you know, not my thing. Now, you know, admittedly, I have not sat down and messed with any of the Spark amplifiers. So, you know, it could be that maybe they are pretty cool, but again, not likely something that I'm going to gravitate towards. Though, you know, like a travel practice situation, though, that could be a pretty handy tool now that I think about it. So, especially for something small and portable as the Spark 40. So yeah, you know, I think as that technology continues to develop and evolve, yeah, I think probably going to start seeing more and more of those here down the road. You know, and I'm willing to bet that somebody else is going to come out with a legit competitor for Positive Grid and the Spark amp here. Probably, I'd guesstimate the next year or two. So, and that's just a guess, you know, and something, you know, it's probably going to be Peavey. Peavey seems like to come out with shit like that to compete with other companies just to piss them off. So, I'm joking about that, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We will see, but I think it's you're gonna start seeing more of them. To answer your question. So, yeah, you guys got quiet. Yeah, I guess everybody's busy today. Not too many people wanting to come hang today, I guess. That's all right. PV Viper's good. Vipers are good. You know, I think I was just researching those the other day. Those came out in 2008, I think it was. You know, specifically to compete with the Line 6, Line 6 biters, and they did that very, very well. The Vipers are on their third generation now, so hats off to PV. They've done those really well, and I think those actually do early. Back in 2008 when they came out, that first series of Vipers did sound. I think probably did sound a little bit better than the Line 6 Spiders. But, again, not my thing. I got the Amplify, now obsolete. I can't use it with my tablet anymore. I can still use the random mode. It's still used to practice. So the Amplify, and I haven't messed with one of those things in, those things were out 10 years ago. That was probably the last time I messed with it. I remember messing with it back in my Guitar Center days when I was at the store, and and I left the store in 2014. That's right about when they were out. So, but now I guess what you're telling me sounds like that they've stopped updating the app, the mobile app, and rendering that Amplify thing, as my alluding to my previous comment that those amps are now obsolete. Thanks, Line 6. Viper has an OK 6505 model, but terrible cleans, good rotary sim. I don't know that there's really any PV amps that do cleans really, really well. And that's just, they're just not known for their clean sounds. Maybe the Delta Blues, I don't even know if that thing's still being made. I think that one's discontinued now as well. But that may be about the only one. That I can think of anyway. What else? What else is in their product line right now? The Classic series. Everybody likes those for the rock tone, and the distortion sounds. Fender makes amp like that. I'm assuming you're talking. Fender has an app-driven amp that I didn't know, unless it's one of their Mustang. They've got a couple different Mustang series amps. That might be one of those, I guess. Mitchell says the phone update made it obsolete regarding his Line 6 Amplify. So, Wayne Slager says your comment videos are hilarious to me. Please keep them around. Well, some of them are. It's when you do YouTube, and you start to see this happen pretty quick after you start doing YouTube. As soon as you have a video that gathers even mild traction, starts getting some views, then you get a few, that's when you start to see just how many assholes are actually out there. And I did a video on a Gibson Explorer way back. It was like one of my very first videos, and and I was pretty critical of it back then because this was 2015. It was a Gibson. I was pretty critical, and of course, I had there's Gibson fanatics that weren't coming out of the woodwork, but they would comment every now and again, and leave some some shitty, nasty comments they didn't need to leave, and and I learned pretty quick that that's a thing out there, and can't avoid it, so might as well embrace it. So that's why I started putting those people on blast, because it's fun to me. People say, "Oh, you should take the high road, ignore them, don't give them that kind of." So, I don't give a fuck if they get any attention or not. I'm doing it for my own entertainment. I had a USA-made PV Predator, good guitar. All the USA-made PV guitars are great. I don't think they've ever produced a bad guitar, especially in any of their USA stuff. I mean, again, going all the way back to the 70s and 80s. Even the T series stuff. Which you can still get pretty affordably on the used and vintage market now. They've gone up some, but I think most of them are still well, under $1,000, maybe even under 800 in a lot of cases. So they're still pretty affordable instruments and really well made. You just hold one, you'll be able to tell instantly they were built to last. Kevin Black says, you said the Danelectro Black Licorice sucks. Have you used the Danelectro Black Paisley Liquid Metal? If so, how do they compare? I have not played that one at all. Black Licorice, though, is one of the worst sounding distortion pedals I've ever heard. I mean, if you're looking, I mean, I think it doesn't even have it doesn't even have a gain control or anything on it. I mean, it's just, I guess it was supposed to be made for death metal or something. I don't know, but it's one of the Danelectro should not do anything related to metal. That ain't their thing. Why they decided to do it with that one, I have no idea. So yeah, that was a horrible pedal. Black Paisley Liquid Metal, I've never heard of it, so I can't comment on that. But if it's a Danelectro pedal, and it's designed for metal. Like I said, I haven't heard it, but if I'm being realistic, I'm not optimistic. So, hashtag butthurt. Yep, that's one of my favorite hashtags these days. Which is the best Boss distortion? Oh, I don't know. I can tell you my favorites, as far as what the best one is. I mean, that's all in this case, the ear of the beholder. I mean, my favorites, of course, are the Metal Zone, and I like the Power Stack real well, and I haven't tried the new Wazacraft DS1 yet, but that one I'm sure is a pretty good pedal because all the Wazacraft stuff is awesome. I don't know. The DS2 I really like. The DS2 is great. What else is there that I can think of? Mega Distortion's cool. But for the Eagles, a band who uses very little gain at all, you're probably going to be better off with an overdrive, a light overdrive pedal instead of a distortion. But if you want, if I would think, if for an Eagles type of sound, I mean, I'd probably just grab a blues driver and dial the gain back. Probably what I'd be after. So, yeah, I just got a PayPal alert from I don't want to say the name because it's probably not different. It's probably different from the screen name, but PayPal donation from one of you guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, if you guys want to support the channel, all those links should be down in the description. Support certainly is appreciated. Rich Tom says OD3 for Eagles tone. OD3 is a good one too. That pedal's kind of got a neat story behind it because it's just because of the way that it's evolved, because the original OD1 eventually evolved into what we now know as the Tube Screamer and the SD1. And then, the OD3 kind of, after the OD2, and there was a couple versions of that, the OD2. Ah, hey, another PayPal donation. Again, thank you very much. Appreciate that. But anyway, the OD3 kind of evolved into its own thing. So, Boss Distortion Feedbacker. I have one of those. That's actually a pretty cool pedal. Not the most practical, but from as far as tonally, the distortion on it, it's its own thing. I mean, it doesn't sound like anything else that Boss has ever done. You would think it would just be a DS1 with the feedback control in it, but it's not. So I mean, it's quite a bit different. I initially thought that's what it was. It was a DS1 with the feedback function, but it is quite a bit different from that. That's a cool pedal. I wonder what those are going for now. Let's have a look-see here. Over there on old Evil Bay. Was the DF1 or the DF2 super feedback or distortion. There's the DF2 that somebody gave me one. The one that I have, a buddy of mine had literally was sitting in his attic for like 20 years, and finally he just gave it to me just for just to because he didn't even play anymore. So I took it, for the hell of it. Didn't really think much of it at the time. Just kind of added it to my collection, and would plug it in and mess with it every now and again. But for the most part, didn't really use it much. And here now they're selling for what are? Oh, let's see what they're actually. I'm looking at them on eBay right now. The DF2 versus they changed the name to the Super Feedbacker and Distortion because they got sued or they got a cease and desist from DiMarzio when that pedal first came out because they were calling it the Super Distortion Feedbacker. And of course, DiMarzio already had a pickup called the Super Distortion. So yeah, these things are selling $150, $200. Wow, those have gone up a lot. There's the FD2. Super Distortion Feedbacker. About the same. I thought those would be worth more. Okay. Alright. Oh, I digress. I picked up the Donner Arena 2000 just to try it out. I can't tell you my opinion because it would be over an hour vid. It's okay, I guess. I've seen that one. There's some of those, those more inexpensive processors that are actually, my understanding is they're actually pretty good quality, and really good sounding, and like to the point that they can hang with the really expensive ones, the Helix, the Axifax, and all that stuff. Michael Nielsen has been. I really want to check out that. I think it's Hotone, however you pronounce that company. Are they the ones? I think it's the Ampero. They call it. I think that's the one. That he's been. He's been falling all over himself with that. With that particular thing, and he's gotten some. He's a great guitar player anyway, but he's gotten some killer sounds out of it. So. I am kind of curious from that. So, and another PayPal donation. Thank you very much. Thanks for answering a question about Danelectro pedal. So my pleasure. My pleasure. I appreciate the support very much. Stephen Durantini is here. Welcome to you. Mitchell says, I used to have the DS2 Turbo Overdrive. Well, the DS2 is the Turbo Distortion. I think it's the SD2 that was the Turbo Overdrive. So I sold it when I was broke. I miss it. It was old, but worked great. I love Boss pedals. Yep, I'm a pretty big fan of Boss pedals as well. Very, very much. OD3 is $99, that's about right. I like the OD3 as well. That's a good overdrive. I still, the Blues Driver is still my favorite, but or the Blues Driver, the Wazacraft Blues Driver, or the Angry Driver. Angry Driver is pretty awesome too. A lot of people think that the Blues Driver that's in the Angry Driver is better than the actual Blues Driver. So I've heard a few people say that. So, but yeah, I'm also a big fan. But you guys know I'm a big fan of Boss pedals and Roland amps. Roland amps as well. I love the JC120. Greetings and salutations, guitar nerds, from Mr. Jeff 7. What's up, dude? DS2 Turbo Distortion is what you're talking about. Yeah. I like the DS2. I think that's a great pedal. I don't know why it doesn't get more attention than it does, to be honest. But I really like that one. John Garrett says I had an MXR 78 Badass. Switched to a Rat. Pardon me. I was not yawning because of your comment. I apologize. Oh, shit. You fucking lazy. Damn it. Here. Sorry, my light fell down. One of them, anyway. I had an MXR 78 Badass, switched to a Rat, and both of those are pretty good, man. The MXR. A lot of people really like the MXR, those Badass pedals, which are out of their custom shop line, and they were. I remember especially when they first came out. For several years, after they came out, you're seeing those things popping up everywhere. They sold a lot of them. They still sell a lot of them. Those are good sounding pedals. MXR got those right. Jay Matthews says I still have Digitech 2112. That's the old rack mount thing. That one's actually, I think that's the one that's that all of a sudden everybody's gunning for now. They've, here in the last, 5, 6, 8 years, one of those old Digitech rack mount effects processors suddenly got really popular again, and price and the values on the used market skyrocketed. And I think it might be that one, but I might be wrong. It might be a different one. Brother gave me a Mosky Super Rat, like pinholes and speakers. I haven't heard that one, but I love Rat pedals. You guys know I love Rat pedals, but even with the gain dialed way back, it's still a ton of gain. Have you ever played a Vola? I just bought one, and it has me second guessing why I buy anything over $1,500 anymore. I have not, but I've heard a lot of great things about those guitars because they're made in Japan. Most of them, anyway. I guess there's Max just demoed. And I've already forgotten the name of the guy whose signature it is, but he just demoed one of their signature models on his channel a day or two ago. That was up around the like 1750, I think. Was 1749, I think that one sells, but most of them seem to be well under $1,500. And from what I understand, they're really, really good quality guitars. I actually have it on my to-do list this weekend to reach out to them because I want to try to get one on my channel. Check it out. I want to see what all the hype's about. I want to see what I'm missing. So, but I have not yet played one. But from my understanding, they're pretty kick-ass instruments. Have you seen someone on Reverb selling a complete Boss pedal collection for $75K? As a used gear guru, does that sound like a deal? Oh man, I don't know, man. If it, I mean, number one, you got to think, you know, complete Boss pedal collection. I mean, number one, that's a lot of pedals. I mean, I remember seeing. I mean, there are those fanatics out there, people that they work for years, if not decades, to collect every Boss pedal that's ever made and add it to their collection. And I remember several years back, I remember seeing a guy that he had everyone that had been out up to that time. And this was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago now, and you got to think there's been a lot of Boss pedals that have come out since then. 3 or 4 or 5 years ago now, and he had this giant ass table, that he used to set them all out and display them. And I mean, it was a huge table, and that table was fully covered. So, when you take all of those into consideration, and if you were to add up the values of every single one of them, assuming that they were all in good to excellent condition, even the older ones, which that's the definition of good to excellent, and of some of those old vintage pedals is probably going to be a little bit different than what it would be in something that's a lot newer. But if you had the whole collection, I mean, they're not comic books. Comic books, if you got an entire run like that with no gaps, you're not missing any books, that alone will increase the value of that particular collection. These, on the other hand, are a little bit different because I don't know, maybe not, but I suppose it's going to depend on who's actually interested in buying them. I guess would be another thing. But yeah, I don't know. It might increase the value having them all, but I think it might also take away the fun from somebody that wants. I mean, part of the fun of doing that is actually tracking them all down and buying them. Especially the rare ones, and like the slow gear and the Spectrum, some of the really really rare ones, the really hard to find ones. That uber rare gold DS1 that they did. I think there's only 6 of those. So and that thing alone is if you have it. I mean that thing alone would probably be worth close to what that entire collection is. So I don't know. I would have to dig into a lot more before I decided whether or not it was a good deal or not. I mean, that's something that, an entire Boss pedal collection like that does not pop up every day. So honestly, I think my initial guess is it's high. Somebody's trying to make a little bit more on it than it's worth, just because of the fact that it's complete. And I haven't seen it anyway, so I'm just going off what you're telling me. But yeah, I don't know. The other thing is you got to factor in how many guitar players actually have $75,000 to spend on gear. Number one, and number two, how many of those people that do have $75,000 to spend on gear are going to spend it on a collection of Boss pedals. So, the narrow market, the uber narrow market for that pedal is another thing that's, I think, is going to drive the price way down. John Garrett and the super chat. Thank you very much for coming to hang out, man. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the support very much, very very much. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Complete Boss pedal collection for $75,000. Let me see if I can find that. Oh. Boss pedal collection. There it is. Complete Boss compact pedal collection with original boxes. $74,999.99. Without sitting there counting them, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say whether or not it's complete, but my question, my first question is gonna, is it really complete? Because the first thing I see, I don't see the millionth, or the 6 millionth, 10 millionth, whatever it was. I think it was 10 millionth commemorative DS1 pedal that they did. That was the gold one that I was talking about. There's only 6 of. I don't see that one. Tell you what, let me share my screen with you guys, and you can see what I'm looking at. So I don't see that DS1. It's real hard to tell what that one is, because another one, the Tone Bender that just came out a year or two ago. That's another one that's going to be tough. That might be what that is, though. So he may have the Tone Bender. So there's the FZ1W. There's the FZ5. And that looks like maybe the original FZ1. But if that's the Tone Bender, that's one of the uber hard ones to get. He's got 2 of those weird power supply things. Everything else looks pretty, there's the adaptive distortion. That one's hard to find. There's the slow gear. There's the Spectrum. There's the OD1. Though, okay, here's a red flag. Because these 3 right here, the original, the Spectrum, the OD1, and the Phaser, these 3 look like that trio, that limited edition thing that they did a few years back, where they came out with the, they re-released these 3 and sold them as a, as like a commemorative anniversary type of bundle package. They were all in the same box, but all 3 of those look awfully, they look brand new, and which makes me think that that's where those came from. Those are not original vintage pedals from late 70s and 80s. So, and I mean, I'd bet money that that's what those are. In which case, that's going to drive the price. That 70. That makes me a little bit more skeptical about some of these others. And there's some good ones. There's a Hyper Metal, but those aren't hard to find. There's the Digital Metalizer. You can find those out there. There's the HM2. Which version of the HM2 is that, by the way? Is that made in Taiwan, or is that one of the earlier made in Japan ones? There is a difference in market value on those. That slow gear might be. Let's see. Let's go through the. Maybe not. There's the boxes, or maybe he just bought the boxes. I don't know. Maybe sometimes you can get people that are just selling just the box, and a plastic wrap to put them in is not hard to find. The slow gear looks original. Yeah, is that box being in that bad a shape and that pedal being that brand new, that's kind of a red flag to me. Do you have the original DC2? There's another one that I'd want to know about. There's the D. Yep, there it is. There's Dimension C and the digital dimension. And okay. All right. Interesting. Those are concerning, though. Then again, maybe they are. Maybe they are original. I don't know. I'd want to verify some serial numbers with those. Interesting. All right. Pretty cool though. Somebody has them all. You don't see that every day. You don't see that every day. That is definitely interesting. So definitely interesting. We got here. Oh, sweet. Another PayPal donation support for the channel. Appreciate that. That one. The message thing cut off. Let me see who that one's from. That was said. Thank you for the boss analysis. So, like I said, I don't want to give out names here on the live stream because I don't know if that's. It doesn't look like it's anybody that's. I don't want to give up anybody's. PayPal name because you're probably using a different handle in the chat. So, at any rate, thank you very much for the support. I do appreciate it. Very much, I appreciate it. So, well, $75,000. Huh. Where is this? Boss gave out an exclusive custom badge DS1. My understanding these were given out exclusively to a few registered attendees of this conference. Rather than sell separately, we're including all three of this listing. I'm fascinated with this boss collection. That's pretty neat stuff. I am skeptical about a few of them, but slow gear, the original box, or even more rare, the elusive RV2 box. Interesting. All right, I digress. Stephen Durantini, I think I'm pronouncing that right, with the super chat there as well. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the support. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. To keep up the great, honest work. I try, man. And I kind of, while I appreciate, when I always appreciate when people say things like that, it also kind of, makes me wonder, what it is, who it is they've been watching on YouTube that they think is dishonest. Because I think that is, I've talked about this before, man. I think people think they're seeing somebody on YouTube that's being dishonest. I think that's a very common misconception more than anything else. And, that's something that we don't, is something that we endure that is, frankly not very fair in a lot of instances. So, but that's another topic for another day. JG Mopar is down there in the chat as well. What's up, man? Long time no speak. Or no see, at least not long time no see in the chat. But glad you came to hang out here for this one. We are just hanging out. Somebody shared that there is a $75,000 complete collection. A complete collection of Boss pedals for $75,000 listed on Reverb. And I've been looking at that because I think it's pretty interesting. Also, JD Mopar also with the PayPal donation. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So, or putting a hold on it for some reason. Yeah, PayPal does all kinds of weird shit like that, man. Maybe I should start including my Venmo in there as well. Venmo seems to be a little bit smoother. God damn it. Alright, I'm about done with this light. Anyway, Venmo seems to be a little bit smoother transactions sometimes for some people. Contractors and vendors and stuff that I work with all seem to prefer Venmo these days to PayPal. Sure. So, well, you guys are getting pretty quiet, and I'm getting pretty quiet. So, we've been at this for a little over an hour now. But Wi-Fi seems to have held up, so I guess that's a plus. So it didn't drop out right in the middle of the live stream like I thought that. I was hoping that it wouldn't. That's what happened the last couple of weeks. So, Michael Tolton says, I've got a Boss GE7. Can you help me and where to place it in the signal chain, please? Before overdrive, after, front of amp, or loop. Really, there's not really a wrong place to place it. I guess it just depends on what you want to use it for. EQ pedals are pretty versatile pedals. If you're wanting to use it to EQ your distortion, I would try it before. Yeah, if you want to use the EQ like your overall tone, try it before or after. Try it before your distortion or overdrive, and then try it after. See which one you like. If you're wanting to use it as like a solo boost or something like that, then as a clean boost, I really like it in the effects loop. And I've used that pedal specifically as a clean boost before, like for solos and stuff. It's great for that. So just pop it in the effects loop. Towards the front. You don't want it. You want to make sure it's before your reverbs and delays and all that stuff. It's still really kind of a gain-based pedal. So towards the front of the chain in your effects loop, if that's what you're using it for. But yeah, I would start there. Are you doing live on Saturdays again? For the time being, here right now I am. Right now I have the time. If you didn't see the caption on the screen, I got laid off from my job about almost 2 months ago now. So I have some extra time, and I've not found re-employment yet. And so obviously I'm could use a few extra bucks too. So that's part of it. So I'm doing it. Part of the reason why I'm doing it. Part of it, I just want to get back to doing live streams again. I'll do this for a little while until I start to get burnt out again. I've found that when I was doing them before, I would go 2.5 hours, sometimes 3. And it was just too much. It was just cutting. It was just way too much at one time. And I think that's one thing that made me get burnt out on it. But I found, and I'm about to cut this one here pretty soon. But I found if I keep them at about an hour and a half, then it's they're a little bit more manageable for me. They're not overwhelming, and then I can get up and go do the rest of what I need to do. For the rest of the day, particularly, especially on Saturdays. Saturdays, this is also a good time for me to go. Sometimes my mom and I like to go have lunch on Saturdays, and sometimes I like to, sometimes in the warmer months, that's a good time for me to do yard work and cut the grass, or go play golf, that kind of stuff. So, the band that I was trying to get put together seems to have kind of fallen through already. One of them's, one guy had to had to bow out, unfortunately, due to family stuff. Which which I completely understand. But he was also the guy that had the practice space and among other things. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find a replacement and keep going with that. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that yet. But in the meantime, while I do still have time on Saturdays, I'll keep hanging out here with you guys for a little bit. And the rest of the day here, I'm going to probably make myself some nachos. I made some killer-ass nachos the other day, and I think I want to do it again. So I think I'm going to make some nachos and play video games the rest of the day. And that's going to be my day. So for the rest of the day anyway, while Mrs. Jackson is out hanging out with her mom, so she's out there, they're out there doing their thing today. So I have all the time to myself. That's the shirt. Oh, okay. Interesting. So, anyway, that's all I have for you guys here today. New video is going up tomorrow, so I encourage you guys to go check that out. And yeah, another one here later on in the week, I'm sure, and more to come down the road. So I'm gonna go enjoy my nachos and enjoy my Saturdays. So you guys all go do the same. See you guys. Have a good weekend.